Hi, my name is John, welcome to Ride. We're here today for the next of our edits for RoadCyclingUK.com. Today we're going to do a tubeless tyre setup. A lot of popularity with the tubeless setup now, gaining a lot of momentum, more and more rims, tyres and things are becoming available. We're working on a Stans rim today, a ZTR Alpha 400. The Stans guys are kind of largely responsible for a lot of the tubeless technology now. It's a popular wheel set light rim. They use a proprietary bead technology called bead socket technology. It allows the tyre, the tubeless tyre, to clip into the bead very securely, and then hence obviously keeping an airtight seal. But what we do have on the Stans rims is traditional looking spoke holes all the way through for building the wheel, obviously. We need to make that sealed up. We need to seal that up so that obviously the air can't get out. And how we do that is with their own tape. So Stans have a very hard wearing single-sided sticky tape, almost got a plasticky feel to it. We need to get that adhered to the inside of the rim as tightly and as neatly as possible, and that will help, along with the tubeless valve, to obviously seal the air inside the tyre and prevent it leaking out through the valve hole or the spoke holes. So the first thing we need to do is get the tape on. And before we go ahead and stick the tape on, it's worth trying to remember to do this at least at room temperature. If you're trying to do it outside in your garage, if it's damp or it's cold, you're going to have a job getting the tape to adhere to the rim. So leave it inside for a bit, work on it inside if you can, otherwise you're making life kind of difficult for yourself. The next thing to note, obviously try and make sure that the inside of the rim is as clean and as degreased as possible. We're working on a largely new rim here, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. If it's a new build, make sure you've degreased any residue of the original lubricant from the rim. If it's an old wheel that you're converting for the first time, yeah, again, any mud and muck, any old Stans sealant, get that off the rim. However you choose, some sort of degreaser or methylated white spirit, something like that. So going ahead with our yellow tape, start near the valve hole, unwheel a couple of inches, get it seated down between the beads, get it in as nice and neatly as you can, and anchor it down with your thumb. And then the technique here is it's not a particularly stretchy tape, but you need to apply some tension to it. It'll help the tape actually sit down in, and it prevents as many buckles and wrinkles in the tape as you can get. So again, having the tape at room temperature rather than cold will give it a little bit more elasticity and help it adhere a bit better. Apply pressure and work your way around a couple of inches at a time. You can't rush this part of the job. It's pretty much, you have to go as slow as you need to. Squeezing out any little air bubbles. Work your way around. You can use your finger now just to get it down inside the bead. You're looking for a nice smooth finish without any, any ruffles or wrinkles. Keep that tension nice and taut. Just work on around. So when you get back around the rim to the end of the tape that you started with, just overlap it. At this point you're going to be going over the valve hole. So completely go over the valve hole, and I give it a couple of inches of overlap. Stick it back down on top of itself. That just ensures that we haven't got any ends uncovered. Again, just trying to impede any escape of air when we get the tyre up to pressure. So once you've got that finished, a pair of scissors, nice clean cut straight across, push it down, try and get rid of that last little wrinkle, and then again just go around with your hand, double checking everything, squeezing any last little air bubbles. Hopefully you haven't got any. Work it around. Can't really emphasize this enough, it needs to be really well stuck down. Air will escape very quickly out of any little bits that aren't stuck. Work your way around, make sure the end is stuck down nicely. There we go, nice smooth finish. No real pockets of air underneath, anything like that. But we don't have anywhere to put the valve through. So your tubeless valve looks like this, much like a regular valve, regular Presta valve. It's got a little rubber seal on the end. It's kind of tapered in this example. This is Stan's own valve, so it's designed to work really well. It's pretty universal, it'll work with most rims. It works nicely with these. So we need to make a hole for that. Now don't go cutting a big hole the same size as the valve stem hole in the rim. You'll end up with too much tape missing. So I like to use something quite small, small bradawl or a pick like this one. Find the hole and literally just push it straight through. That's all it is, just a small hole, just like that. The valve will make itself the hole. It will make the hole in the tape big enough for itself without being excessively big. So screw the end in and just push the valve carefully through the tape. Like that. Push it down so that the rubber piece actually starts to seat into the hole in the tape. And keep a thumb on top of it, keep it in place. Take the little lock ring, spin that up on there, and tighten that up by hand. You don't need to use pliers or anything on this, hopefully you can just do it up as tight as you can get it with your hand. And that's that. So, looks like that on the inside, looks like that on the outside. So, we're pretty much ready to go ahead and start introducing a tyre into the equation. So this is a tyre that's actually been used, it's been mounted. You can see a bit of residual Stan sealant on there. Not a problem, it's in good condition. It's been off for a wheel true. So we're going to go ahead and put it back on. It's a tubeless tyre, so it's specifically designed to run as a tubeless setup. So it should work just fine. So go ahead and introduce one side of the rim to one side of the bead on the tyre. Bring it round. Again, we're going to try and do this entirely without any tyre levers. They can be kind of tight, but if you can do it without tyre levers, it lessens your chance of damaging the bead, damaging the rim, and again, therefore, introducing a problem as far as sealing it goes. So that's one side on, nice and neat. Make sure that the bead is on the other side of the valve. It's possible to get it hooked up on the valve here. Make sure it's right the way across. And then starting opposite the valve, start to clip the next section on. Working our way around towards the valve. So we're going to stop just short of the valve because obviously we need to put some sealant into the equation. There's a couple of ways you can do this. A lot of the valve cores will have a removable core. On some of the small bottles of sealant that you can buy, you can actually take the valve core out and inject it in through the valve hole. We've got a huge hole here, it's actually going to be easier to put the sealant in before we shut it all up, so we're going to do that. You need to give the sealant a good shake before you start to put it in. Give it a really good shake as long as you can. There's a lot of kind of particles in this which need to be free floating in the sealant liquid. If it's been stood on a bike shop shelf or on your shelf in the workshop for a long time, those particles will have settled to the bottom. If you just go ahead and pour it in, you're going to get a lot of milk and not a lot of sealing particles. So give it a good shake, hold the bottle upside down. I like to put my finger over the end, just hold it upside down for a while, just let some of those particles sink to the bottom. Fill up the cup. You can actually see the thing, it's starting to seal the bottle itself. So a little bit of pressure on the bottle. Finger back over. So you need a kind of steady hand for this piece. Take your sealant, pour it in as neatly as you can. There we go. So then, with a bit of luck, we can let the sealant slide round to the top part of the tyre that's already on the rim, and then we can go ahead and edge this part of the tyre onto place. Again, trying to work without the tyre levers. If you have got to use a tyre lever, just be exceptionally careful. Try and use a plastic one, but like I say, this has gone on pretty nicely. Yeah, just at the valve, just make sure that bead is either side of the valve stem. A little bit tricky. Okay, that's good. And then just work your way around the tyre. Just trying to centre it up, make sure it looks nice and straight. It's not buckled anywhere, there's no kinks in the bead. Get it to sit up. Back to the valve. You can even try and flatten it down a little bit. So the next stage is to try and get some air in, and this will be the part where things start to flounder perhaps. Most bike shops will use a compressor for this. It introduces a lot of air into the tyre very quickly, kind of pops the tyre up and lets the bead seat very fast before too much air can escape. We're going to give it a go with a regular track pump. Not many people are going to have a compressor at home, so we'll give it a bash with a track pump first. See how we go. If we have to resort to a compressor, maybe we will. So take your track pump. Let's see how we go there. Try and pump hard and fast as quickly as you can, get as much air in as possible. You can actually hear the bead pop. Keep an eye on your pressure, we're up to 100 there. And then check. You hear a little pop there, just another part of the bead seating. Most tyres will have some sort of pattern, some sort of line around where the carcass of the tyre transforms into the bead. Have a little look, see if it's a uniform distance from the edge of the rim. If you've got any bits that kind of dip down, they're probably caught inside the rim. You might need to introduce a little bit more pressure just to get that to pop. You may need to let all the pressure out, back it off and start again. This one seems to have gone up quite nicely. You know, we're working with quality components here, like nice tyres, nice rims. Really, life is about as easy as it's going to get. So we've got a good finished product there. Check your pressures again if you need to. 100 psi is great. One of the benefits of the tubeless system is you can run a lower pressure. You get a nice rolling feeling tyre and wheel combo. You know, the days of 120, 140 psi are probably largely behind us, but tubeless definitely lets us run lower pressures. So we've got this one up at 100 psi for our 11 stone rider, and he's ready to roll. So tubeless rim technology varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. The system we used today was the stand system, which has a fairly regular looking rim, has the spoke holes all the way through. A couple of other examples, Mavic for instance, they have a sealed rim, and if you have a sealed tubeless ready rim from Mavic, you're not going to need the tape. Obviously the rim they've done the job for you, there's no spoke holes for the air to escape from. Bontrager, another example, they have a plastic strip which acts to seal the spoke holes, but rather than being an adhesive tape, it's actually a clip-in, semi-rigid plastic piece which actually clips into the profile of the rim really nicely. And there's other manufacturers out there as well that use various different systems. You'll have to have a look, see which you've got with the choice of wheels that you've made.